Yep, inner city, and she can give you more information as well when she starts her portion of the presentation. So we are in Shelma, which is in Schenectady, Rotterdam area. We have approximately 600 students at our middle school grades 5 through 8. So you might be wondering, why are we presenting today? Why are we here to chat with you? I'm going to share my screen and give you our presentation slide so you can see. But this presentation actually came from a presentation I did for the National Association for Pupil Transportation. Put this up for you. So that presentation, it was a webinar actually on, it was a webinar on March 9th. And I did that presentation in conjunction with two other speakers. I spoke with Barry Suddeth. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him in the transportation world, but he is the transportation, director of Stafford County Public Schools in Virginia. So I got to meet Barry. He had a lot of awesome insight for me. And I also presented with Jill Cook. She is the executive director of American School Counselor Association. And Mike Martin was the executive staff director at National Association for Pupil Transportation, and he kind of guided the webinar. Our webinar title was called, and you'll see it on the screen, How to Create a Unified Education Community Focusing on the Social, Emotional, and Academic Health of Students. So that was the title of our webinar. So after I did the webinar in March, someone reached out to me, it was Belinda, and said, hey, would you be willing to share this at our meeting? And we were like, yeah, definitely. So our webinar was more of like a round robin discussion, but we've turned it into just a little presentation to share with you today. And we wanted to give you some of our takeaways from that webinar in March. So our first slide, when life gets too hard, we got to roll with it. And that's inspired from a Steve Winwood song. You may be familiar with it. I'm not sure. Very catchy. So basically, we know that this year has been different because of COVID. We have many different regulations that we have to consider both in school and on the bus. So obviously, our students are wearing masks on the bus, in school, they're social distancing. Here at Shelma, students, we have 1 per seat on the bus. We obviously know about hand sanitizing. We're making sure that we are cleaning, supplies, all of the things that we've been doing all year. So again, we have to just kind of go with this and roll with this so that our students can be back in school together. We also this year have less in-person time. So there's less time for us to connect. Here at Shelma, we have a kind of a split building because we have 5th grade, who's really considered elementary school, and they're here with us 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Then we have our 6th graders also here with us 5 days a week. Our 7th and 8th graders are here with us only twice per week. A through L students are here with us on Monday and Thursday, and M through Z students are here with us Tuesday and Friday. Then we have our remote students who have opted not to come to school this year for various reasons. So we have definitely a whole different set of students we're dealing with, 5, 6, 7, 8, and remote. So we have to figure out how are we going to connect with those students who are not here with us every day. I said in my webinar that we're doing the same stuff as educators and as staff who work with students every day, but it just has a deeper impact this year. And we will definitely dive into that in our presentation, but we just have things that are happening like service activities, incentives, just connecting with kids, check-ins with students, but it just has something deeper this year because unfortunately, like for example, today is Thursday. We've seen these kids Monday, so we haven't seen them in a couple of days, and now we're not going to see them again until Monday. So when we see them, we really have to make sure we're doing the things that we normally do, but it has a deeper impact. So when I have conversations with kids, I need to really check in, make sure I'm remembering, make sure I'm getting, to their interests and connecting with them, because the next time I'm going to see them is not going to be tomorrow, but not until Monday. So same stuff, just a deeper impact this year. We found a really cool video. It's called Making a Positive Impact. And it's just about a school bus driver who talks about, again, his insight on students, and he shares what he believes to be his role in their growth and success. So just to kick off our presentation, I wanted to start with this short video. It's about 1 minute long.
What we say and what we emulate has a huge impact on kids. They want to do the right thing, have fun with them, talk to them about the things they like about. You don't necessarily have to be menacing towards them and stand over and do the right thing. Kids in general want to do the right thing. We just have to seek out what they respond to and just have a positive interaction with them. That's one of the reasons why I like Burns Park. They have some of the older us. I love that. Understanding how to deal with conflict resolution, diffusing situations is extremely important. And we can all just ignore this, not only deal with our kids, but it's all about the village, and it's all about all the kids in our society, and helping them to believe that they can accomplish just about anything.
Okay, so that was our first video. And we feel like, again, that just offers kind of like what our presentation is about. Like our role is to connect with everybody. So as an administrator, connecting with bus drivers, connecting with transportation, connecting with counselors, teachers, our whole staff has to work together for the betterment of our students here. Oops, hold on, sorry. Presentation again, or the video again. Let me skip to my next slide. So this is our second and last video. It's called our Invisible Backpack video. So I'm going to play this video for you, and then you're going to hear from one of our social workers here, Stephanie Carter.
Each morning, children in our community get ready for school, and most of them pack a backpack. A backpack filled with notebooks, folders, pencils, markers, all the tools they need to have a successful school day. But as children head out the door, they may also be carrying a backpack you can't see. This invisible backpack is filled with all of the hardships that might keep them from being successful, not only in the classroom, but also in relationships with their family, teachers, and peers. Their invisible backpack may be weighed down with things like anxiety, depression, bullying, family issues like divorce, addiction, abuse, and more.
In my early teenage years, my invisible backpack started filling up with lots of heavy things like depression and low self-confidence, low self-esteem. I didn't think I was worth anything, and I didn't have much self-love. So my invisible backpack got full pretty quickly.
You never know what's weighing a young person down. Some students' invisible backpacks may be empty, while others might be overflowing. But with the social and emotional issues children face today, any child's invisible backpack can fill up very quickly. Youth First social workers and programs.
Okay, so that was our second video. So I'm going to keep doing that, everybody. I apologize. I'm going to let Stephanie Carter talk a little bit about ACEs. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie.
Okay. So as a social worker here at the middle school, obviously we work with students with a lot of mental health issues, behavioral health, and academic struggles on a consistent basis to really help the students improve and help with their overall functioning. You know, it's really important that we understand some of these issues, no matter who we are when we come in contact with students, in order to, you know, interact with them more, to serve them better. So, you know, each morning these kids leave home with these invisible backpacks. It greatly influences how they perceive us and deal with us and how we interact and perceive them. Some students may be better able to hide and appear that all is well, while other students that have similar experiences may appear more defiant and disrespectful. Each experience or trauma in students' backpacks shape and form not only how they are currently functioning, but also their performance and functioning in their future. Just to look at it a little bit further, some you know, research, there was a study conducted to look at this relationship between what happens to children before the age of 18, abuse and dysfunction in their household, and how that impacts them as an adult and their behaviors and health then. The study was called Adverse Childhood Experiences, or ACEs study. The participants were asked to answer questions about events that they had or had not experienced prior to the age of 18. These events were such things as physical abuse, emotional neglect, domestic violence, household mental illness, incarceration of a household member, sexual abuse, physical neglect, substance misuse in the household, and parental separations or divorce. The results of the study showed that traumatic events, such as those that I just listed, when experienced early in life, can have effects that last into adulthood. It further went on to say that the powerful relationship between our emotional experiences as children and our mental health influences our mental health and our physical health as adults. Stress from these experiences can actually change the way your brain is developing and affect how your body responds to stress. Over the course of a lifetime, these childhood experiences can result in social emotional impairment, adoption of high-risk behaviors, health problems, and even early death. In our schools, these ACEs are prevalent with our students and in the classrooms. It is estimated that 13 out of every 30 kids will have experienced 3 or more ACEs before becoming an adult. In terms of school, it was found that the higher the ACE score that someone had would make them at higher risk for poor academic performance, social emotional problems, behavior and discipline problems, and increased truancy from school. Students can have issues with trust, memory and organization, self-regulation, social skills, and comprehension. They may tend to overreact to people, loud noises, touch, and smells. They may have temper tantrums, substance use issues, or engage in self-harm. The overarching result of the study was that traumatic childhood events have lasting effects on physical health and mental well-being. You may ask why I'm telling you all of this and what you can do to make a difference in the lives of students, even when you may not know that these things are happening to them. The biggest takeaway from the study is that the best way to meet the needs of students with ACEs is through building positive relationships. Kids who feel safe and supported will be better able to learn, to engage in appropriate behavior, and are more likely to have positive outcomes in the future. The way their behaviors are addressed can cause behaviors to increase or to decrease. Children with behavioral issues need support, empathy, and patience in order to feel safe and to learn behavioral control. Strong bonds with any staff member, bus drivers, nurses, lunch monitors, teaching assistants, administrators, obviously counselors and teachers, has more of an impact on the students' lives than you may think. If you ever have any concerns in particular, no matter how small they may seem, should reach out to your supervisor, an administrator in the building, one of the counselors, and let them know so that they can look into it and help these kids to be able to talk about these things and improve the relationships with the people that they come into contact with. And that is my part.
Thanks, Steph. So now Elisa Shaws is going to share a little bit about trauma-informed schools.
So what's really important is to understand exactly what a trauma-informed school program is and what it's not. So it really is defined as one where the adults in the school community are prepared to recognize and respond to those who have been impacted by traumatic stress. In addition, students are provided with clear expectation and communication strategies. And ultimately, the goal of a trauma-informed program is to not only provide the tools for the students and staff to cope with extreme situations, but also creating a culture of respect and support. Again, why we're telling you this is because obviously the transportation department also is an important component of the school program. You are the first contact that the student usually has with this school. You have an opportunity to be of a huge positive impact to them. When we talk about the ACEs and we talk about what happens, what we do with that information, there are things called protective factors, and those are things that help a child overcome the adversity that they've experienced and work through. So some key protective factors that they've outlined in research is parent caregiver resilience and knowledge, nurturing and attachment, social connections, having basic needs met, and social emotional skills. So all those things, if the child has those skill sets or those supports in place, are protective factors to help them overcome any adversity. Obviously, for school staff, for the transportation department, our influence is really in the social connections piece, which is what Ms. Carter already touched upon, that the single most important thing is to have a positive relationship. So some key takeaways and some things that you can do to support the child, especially When you get them on the bus first thing in the morning, first of all, we have no idea what they're coming in to the school day with. We don't know what happened before they stepped on the bus. So it's important to acknowledge and validate their feelings rather than their behavior. It's much easier to acknowledge problematic behaviors, but usually the children who need us the most are going to act out the most maladaptively. Finding the good and praising it, exploring options to accommodate them. A simple example of this would be if there's issues, peer-related issues on the bus, if there's a way that you can bring a student to the front of the bus, perhaps you can have a conversation with them during the morning route or in the afternoon route. That's a way to establish and maintain a rapport, but also a way to diffuse any conflict that may be rising. Be compassionate, maintain rapport as best you can, use non-threatening body language. Ultimately, as adults, we often need to be reminded what our face and our body says. So it's important to be cognizant of how you're presenting yourself to the kids. Speak with a gentle and caring tone. So yelling, being firm while it's necessary to maintain safety on the bus. It may be helpful given the student's situation or behavior they may be presenting with. Avoid getting into a power struggle. These are, again, all of these strategies that we are sharing today are ones that obviously we share and encourage the teaching staff to utilize throughout the school day. And trying to keep your own emotions at bay. We talk about this all the time. We talk about it as social workers. It's impossible to not be impacted and affected by what's going on with our students, but it's important that we check our own emotions at the door and we bring our best foot forward to support these kids.
Thank you, Ms. Schoss. So moving on to our next slide, I just wanted to share this quote. It's from actually a previous presentation that Ms. Schoss and Ms. Carter have done. It says, "Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always." And that is super difficult to do in moments where students are on the bus or they're in school and they're really pushing or testing. Just one example I can think of recently is a student was on a bus and she was really going through something, melting down, angry, frustrated. And just the way the driver handled it was awesome because he was very calm with the student. He said, listen, can you get off and talk to the safety officer for a moment? And the student ended up mimicking his behavior, emulating it. So she calmed down, she got off, she spoke to the other individual. He gave her that space that she needed. And then it ended up being a positive interaction versus something that could have escalated very quickly. So again, the student is fighting a battle. We don't know anything about it. It's difficult to be kind. Our reaction, usually we want to react and be like, that's wrong, you need to stop. And we would be right in doing that, but we have to think about what we want to get out of the interaction. Again, I do that pretty much every day. As an assistant principal, I know Ms. Carter and Ms. Schoss as well, we have to consider how we respond because we don't know what these students are going through. Moving on to our next slide, which plays off of that, is just talking about how the small things that we do every day really can make a big difference for students. So for example, here at Schelma, we just started a 4-day-a-week program for our 7th and 8th grade students. So for example, the 7th and 8th graders who are really struggling, they're failing, about 4 of their core classes, or 5 failing a special area class 2, we've decided to bring them back. So they'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So we had to work with transportation. We had to set up this structure and this routine for them. We had to work with our staff here to get supervision. We have to communicate with our staff. How is this going? What can we do better? But those structures and routines are super important for students in order for them to grow socially, emotionally, and academically as well. And then just a small structure and routine is just, again, Ms. Schoss or Ms. Carter mentioned that the bus driver is the first person that people see, like the students see every morning. So just greeting them, checking in with them. Same thing when they walk into the building. We make sure that we have staff stationed to greet them as they walk in. And that goes right into them, just show up for them daily. As an adult, this is something I work to practice, and I think we all do, is that there's stuff going on in all of our lives. We all have stuff too. But I work really hard, and I know Ms. Schoss, Ms. Carter, we leave our stuff at the door. We have to for the kids. We're here for them. We're the adult, so we're expected to do better because we have more life experience. Yesterday, I was outside doing supervision with a lunch group, and this girl was like, can you play Foursquare with us? Now, I didn't know what Foursquare was. I had some heels on. I really wasn't sure if this was a good idea, but I was like, okay, show up for them. I played for about 10 minutes and I think it was fun for me and it was a nice connection piece for them. So those small things, again, can make a really big difference. And that just goes into the next thing is model it. You know, we have to model how we want them to behave. Whether they admit it or not, they look up to us, they watch us. So we have to show them the right thing. So we have to make sure that, again, going back to that bus incident, that bus driver was very calm, cool, and collected. He modeled what he wanted the student to showcase. So that was awesome. And then my last point for this slide is if they don't come to us, which they don't often come to us, we go to them. And I do want to give a shout out to Chalmont Transportation here because I have really kind of connected with them. This is my first year at Chalmont, but I call them, I ask them for help in terms of like, can you pick up this student? Can you get a bus to this student? This student's missed the bus like 3 times. Can we send another bus out? And they'll say, yep, our elementary route is going to be there. They communicate with me if things happen on the bus. They let us know so we can deal with it when students come into the building. Again, I've worked with the social workers and the school counselors here for home visits. If students aren't coming, we go to them and check in and see what's happening. So again, we have to rise up so our students are successful. Moving on. Finishing up here, again, we're all in this together. And again, Ms. Shoss and Ms. Carter had shared this quote with me. It's the same storm. So this COVID storm, we all experienced it, but we're all experiencing it in a different boat. So kids are going through stuff, but they're going through it differently. They have different circumstances, like Ms. Carter pointed out in her backpack video. Like we don't know what they're carrying, and then they're also going through COVID. So we have to keep that in mind. My building principal here, Mr. Zymek, constantly says we have to seek to understand. And that is a really awesome mantra. We've also developed another mantra here, which is connection before content. A lot of teachers want to get to the content. They want to get to the academic piece. And of course, we want our students to flourish academically, but we have to connect with them first. If we don't make those connections that Ms. Shoss and Ms. Carter talked about, the content is never going to come. They need to feel safe. They need to feel validated and supported. And just doing those small things, greeting them, checking in on them, being kind to them, that helps them whether they show it or not. Even if they never acknowledge it, we don't know what kind of impact that's having on them. And that just goes into my next one. Social emotional support leads to academic growth. So really being a driver or working in transportation, the small things that you do are really setting them up for success when they enter the building. So if you have that positive interaction with them, that can set them off on the right path. Or if you notice something kind of like dangerous or detrimental or some bullying happening on the bus, if you let someone know, then the staff here at the school can handle that. And again, that can help them get back on track. So we're all really working together, which goes into my next point, which is about partnerships. Again, I partner with the transportation, with teachers, social workers, parents. That is part of everybody's job who's in education. We're all in this together. You've heard the expression, I'm sure, it takes a village. So we're always doing things that will help us to partner so we can all be on the same page and make informed decisions for students. And lastly, this all kind of goes together, which is communication and collaboration. I joked in my last webinar that I'm BFs with Jess Warner and Steve Connell and Joe Hiltz and Chalmont because I call them regularly like, hey, can you send me some more bus footage that I can watch? Did you happen to check out this footage? Or hey, can you go pick up this student? Again, we're communicating, we're collaborating, we're working together so we can best serve our students. Ms. Carter and Ms. Shoss are here and they can attest to this. I'm with a student disciplining him. I literally call them on the phone. The student needs you. I need you. Can you come over? And we can sit together and help the student come up with some strategies so the student can be successful. So again, there's always communication and collaboration happening here, and transportation is a huge part of that. Last slide, this is Brene Brown. You probably do not. You may know her. I just put a picture because putting the quote all on here would be a lot of words. So that is Brene Brown. She is one of my favorite authors, and she wrote about leadership. And in education, everybody who works with students daily, we're all leaders. So this is what she said about students. What we can do, what leaders of students can do, which we all are, is what we are ethically called to do. We have to create a space for students in our schools, on our buses, where they can walk in, and for that day, that hour, that moment, they can take off the crushing weight of their armor. So again, like Ms. Carter talked about, there's that armor that they all have. They can hopefully hang that armor on a rack and they can open their heart up to truly being seen. They can be themselves. We have to be the guardians of that space that allows students to breathe, to be curious, to explore the world, and to be who they are without being suffocated. They deserve at least one place, whether it's their bus ride, their classroom, their walk into school, their session with their social worker, where they can be vulnerable and their hearts can truly exhale. So that is all at the end of our presentation. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that very good presentation. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. And I personally, as a transportation professional, appreciate the schools that work with us and understand our issues as well. So thank you and welcome to being a new principal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate that.
Has
Thank you.
Linda joined yet?
No.
Okay. Then I think we should move on because I know we were going to do awards, but I think we should move on. Is Pete available to start talking about the legislation?
Hi, thank you, Jerry. The Ledge Committee for NIAP was canceled. We had a meeting scheduled for the week of the break and was canceled. So we're going to convene sometime next month, and I'll have a report at the next meeting regarding that.
Any updates on stop arm cameras?
A stop arm, yep. I can tell you as far as locally goes, the Albany County Legislature last week unanimously passed a resolution allowing school districts to partner with Albany County for the implementation of stop arm cameras on buses. The county now is going to look for an RFP seeking a third-party vendor who will administer the program at no cost to either the county or any school district in the county that opts into this. So that process is going to take a couple of months. And so hopefully we'll have some news on that early to midsummer. And we might start seeing some stop arm cameras on buses in Albany County sometime this fall. So that's a very positive development. We're very happy about that. And our thanks go out as always to Sheriff Craig Apple and Deputy Chief Lee Borman. They helped along with a gentleman in Dan McCoy's office, Luke Rogers, to help bring this about. So much thanks to them. And like I said, hopefully we'll have buses equipped with these cameras by fall. The school districts that opt in, I should say, they will also have to pass a resolution with their school boards to allow them to opt into this. And we're going to try and get some boilerplate language that school districts can use. So transportation directors, I'll get that to you, and then you can get it to your school boards. And if you so choose, you can participate.
Great. Thanks, Pete. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, we will announce our award winners next month at our May 20th meeting. And I think that's all we have for today. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to share? All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Claudine.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thanks, Jared.